Hey, what's up guys, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be doing a super heroic looking dragon, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I want to start with is the horns, which is what I always start with when drawing dragons. So we're just going to start off with these little horns. We're going to zoom in here, and so yeah, here we have just a nice little looking horn. Gonna bring it out just a little bit and curve it down, then we're going to bring in another horn right underneath it, and then it's going to look like it overlaps because we're going to have a little bit of a line there. So we're going to bring that down, and then we're going to start working down that way, and then bring the rest of it down and curve it up. Then we're going to start working on the snout. Alright, so when we start working on the snout, we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to bring the little horn, almost kind of like a horn nose thing, up. Then we're going to bring it down all the way, kind of give him a snub nose, give him a little nostril there. We'll finish that in a second. And then we're going to start on the top part of the mouth, give him a little smile. How does that look? Does it look good? I hope yours looks good. Let's get going. So we're going to start working on the bottom jaw now, which we're going to bring out, give him a little bit of a stout looking chin, and bring that back up, give it a little bit of a curve there, and then bring it down into the jaw. So next we're going to start working on his eye. So we're going to give him a little bit of an eye ridge right there, bring a little curved jagged line in there, and then draw just a little triangle underneath that. And that'll get a little distracted here. Bring a little eye down underneath that, and that'll start looking like an eye. So there's a pretty good looking dragon face, I would say. Finish out the nostril, and that looks like a dragon's face. I don't know about you guys, but that looks like a dragon's face to me. Okay guys, so I'd say that looks pretty good. Now let's keep going with the rest of the body. We're going to start with the neck, so we're going to bring it down just a little bit like this, and kind of give it a little bit of a curve, go back up to the top of the neck, bring it down, kind of try to match it up with the rest of it, and then we're going to bring a sharp curve down, and that's going to start on the little chest. So we're going to have our little chest there, and we're going to bring it down, give it a little sharper curve there, and yeah. Alright, so once we've got that in there, we're going to draw a little bit of a lighter line right there to represent kind of a neck muscle like that, and then we're going to start working a little bit more on the chest here in a second. So we're going to bring it in a little bit more like that, and then we're going to start on the front legs so we don't overlap by accident. So we're going to give it a couple little curves right there, bring in another little curve, so we're going to have like the bicep right here. We're going to curve it real nicely, and then draw a little light line right here to represent the kind of curved muscle looking thing, and then we're going to draw a sharper line right here like that, and that's going to represent the tricep. So follow that line with another lighter line, and it's going to look kind of 3D-ish. So we're going to put in the shoulder with a curved line almost like the bicep, and then we're going to start on the little elbow here. We're going to zoom in, bring that in, kind of like a mini version of the bicep. A lot of the shapes here are kind of similar. So we're going to bring that down. That looks pretty good, and then we're going to start on his forearm. Alright, so when we get started on the forearm, we're going to make it kind of shorter than I usually would, because we don't want this guy looking creepy with like long, thin forearms, because we want to make him look cool and heroic. So we're going to do that, bring it down like that, and start working on the little hand. So we're going to zoom in a second when I start working on the hand, and then we're going to bring it down, bring the little fingers down, and then bring another one down like that, and then another one down. And so it's basically repeating the same shape a few times. Okay, so now that we have this part, so we have these three fingers, and the fingers can be very expressive, so make sure you draw them the way you want them. But for now, we're going to start with the claws. So we're going to bring those down, just a little tiny little triangle with a little curve at the bottom instead of a straight line. And then we're going to bring out the rest of the fingers just like normal. Okay, so now that we have our fingers, we're going to start detailing up the forearm. So we're going to draw a little line right there, and then just kind of darken that up just a little bit. Don't make it too dark, otherwise it won't look as good. And then we're going to draw another light line right here, and that's going to represent our little forearm muscles. So we're going to bring out the rest of the chest now that we have the front leg in. Alright, awesome. So we have the chest in. We're going to bring in a little tiny bit of light detailing, just really light. And then we're going to bring in a little rib here. So we're going to draw 2 super light lines right there, just like that. And then we're going to start working on the rest of the body. So let's start with the wing. We're going to bring out the back just a little bit farther, and then we're going to start working on the wing. So the bottom of the wing is very similar to the shoulder. So we're going to have a little thing right there, just like the shoulder, and then we're going to draw our little curved line just like we did on the shoulder. And then we're going to bring it out and make it super thin instead of thick like the muscles of the arm. And then we're going to bring it up just far enough, and then we're going to cause a bend on the front line. Don't do it on the back yet. So we're going to bring it up all the way, and then we're basically going to bring the wing off the page. So it's going to go off the page, which, I mean, if I had a bigger page it wouldn't, but it's fine. So we're going to bring out a little piece right here, and that's going to be kind of like the finger, I guess, of the wing. And so we're going to draw a little spike on the end because why not? And then we're going to bring it back to the wing and then follow the bend that we made earlier in the front line. So we're going to get a little bit distracted here, and we're going to draw the little curvy line like I said we were going to do earlier for the shoulder of the wing, and then we're going to get right back into it. So we're going to draw the rest of the wing out like this and bring it all the way up off the page. And then we're going to start working on kind of the skin or flesh that brings, or that allows the dragon to fly. So we're going to bring it down from there onto the body of the dragon. We're going to have kind of a slight curve line. So we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to make it look like this guy's been in a couple fights. But we want to make it look like he won because he's supposed to be a heroic dragon. So we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to add just a couple little triangle mountain peaks right there, and that just really looks, it's just an amazing detail, and it adds so much to it even though it's just so tiny. So we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to do one more right there, and it just makes it look like his wings are a little bit torn or tattered, but not too bad because he's like the heroic dragon, he's so powerful and stuff. So yeah. So then we have that little line at the bottom, and it just kind of separates the wing part from the rest of the body. So once we have that, it just kind of like adds a little bit of separation that shows you more of where the wing is. So now we're going to bring this up, add a couple more of those little damaged pieces, and then we're going to make a little bit of a sharper curve right there because, well, you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to have a little bit of a sharper curve up to the top, and when we add the curves, it kind of makes it look stretched. It kind of makes the skin look stretched out, like he's really stretching his wings and making him look like he's mid-flight. So we're going to add, now we're going to start with the rest of the body. We're going to add those little curves. We're going to kind of make the back of his body move down a little bit. So we're going to bring the hip out just a little bit. That's going to be our little hip section. We're going to bring the ab part down, and then bring that out just a little bit more. And excuse me, I'm gonna get a sip of my tea. That was some good tea. Alright, let's continue. So we're gonna bring that down, and then we're gonna start working on the back hip section just a little bit more, bring it out just a tad bit, and then we're gonna start working on them thighs.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so for the thighs, they're going to be a lot different than the biceps and the rest of the front legs because, I mean, obviously your thighs are definitely different than your arms. So we're going to have a little bit of a curve there, sort of a jagged line, and then we're going to bring in the knee, add sort of a same thing as the elbow when we're doing the knee. It just kind of, it's just a generic little thing that you can use to show joints. And then we're going to bring the rest of the body, the abdominal section down, bring it into the thigh because we already have that part, so we might as well. And then we're going to do a little bit of detailing with some light lines here and there. Alright, so once we have our little details in there, we're going to start working on the calves, which we're going to add a little bit more of a curve in there, and then we're going to bring down the calves And so the front part is the shin, and we're going to bring the calf out and almost a V shape, if you will. Not that pointed, because I mean your calves don't look like that, but we want to make him look like he's just a straight up jacked dragon, like make him look super muscled up. And so we're going to bring it down, kind of make it thinner as it gets to the bottom, and then we're going to bring in the calf muscles. So we're going to draw a couple lines right there. I mean, look at those calves. I wish I had calves like that. My goodness. So we're going to bring that in, and then we're going to draw his feet. Alright, so when we're drawing the toes, it's a very similar process to the fingers. So we're going to speed through this just a little bit, but the main difference is we're going to bring in a heel. So once we have our two little toes right there, there's the heel, and we're going to curve it up just a little bit, make it look like your foot, but with clawed toes, obviously. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to detail up the tops of the toes where it bends, because there's a little bit of detail on that in real life. So it just makes it look pretty realistic. And then we're going to draw in a little heel line there to kind of separate it. And then we're going to draw in the little tendons that connect the toes. And we're going to do that on the fingers as well as the little detailing bits. Because if you stretch your fingers and toes out, you can kind of see those tendons, and it just makes it look a little bit more realistic than it would without them. And so we're going to go ahead and draw those in, and then we're going to start our work on the tail. So with the tail, we're going to bring it down, and then we're going to bring it down on both ends, and we're just going to gradually keep going, just to try to match it up as best you can with it. And you don't have to get a ruler out or anything and be the measuring police, but we're going to bring it down and then back up, and then we're going to kind of give it like a blunt end, like he could swing it around and kind of smack another dragon in the face with it. And so there's our little tail, and yeah, so we're going to draw a little bit of lines there, and there is our dragon. Now he looks a little bit flat right now, doesn't he? So we need another front leg, we need another back leg, and we need another wing. So we're going to go ahead and draw those in a super speedy time lapse. Here we go. So drawing the front and back legs on the other side is pretty much the same. You're doing the same process, but it's not really that much different. But on the front leg, you do want to add in this little thumb. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's opposable or not, you guys can decide that. But we're basically doing the same muscle looks and the same kind of process. We're just paying attention to where we drew the lines of the body, and we're drawing them at a little bit different angle, so that way you can actually kind of see them. Because in real life, a dragon probably wouldn't be flying with all his limbs in the exact same position at the exact same time. So we're just doing everything the same as normal. And so here's our back leg, our second back leg, and we're drawing that up, putting in the muscles. So there we have that, and see, it's already looking a lot more 3D. So let's get started on the wing. So we're going to bring it up, and this is what I was talking about when I was telling you about the sharper curve at the other end, or at the top end of the wing. So we're going to bring it, and it's going to go off the page, but not by as much as the other wing. So it's almost like he's got it kind of curving down more than the other wing, but that's okay. Maybe he's mid-jump or something. And we're going to bring it up and then bring another piece out, and it's going to go, we're going to bring two of them, and then we're going to bring it from this part over, we're going to bring it from the end all the way past behind the other wing, and we're going to do the same process that we did with the finger of the other wing, and draw a little spiky on there again. And then we're going to do some nice curvature with a few tattered details, and then we're going to do some more nice curvature and bring it up like that. So that looks pretty good, I'd say. So let's do some final details. We're going to draw in the little oblique muscles, which are the muscles on the side of your abdominals, and then we're going to draw, if we're going to finish out the ribs, and then we're going to draw a few lines on the horns. So just kind of mark little vertical lines on the horns, and just kind of adds another little detail on there. and then we're gonna detail out the chin just a little bit more, and then we're gonna, why not just draw some gills in there, and I don't know, maybe he can breathe underwater if he wants to. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So the gills are pretty dark, and then we're gonna add some spikes, because of course dragons need spikes on their backs. So we're gonna actually do something different and make them bigger on the way down, so that the blunt end of his tail just kind of looks that much more dangerous. And yeah, that looks pretty cool. Do some final little sketches, and that's our completed dragon. So I hope your guys' turned out awesome, and looking at it, I can already see some things I could have fixed, but that turned out great. So I'll see you later.